What does Pisces need to know for the month of May? The Five of Swords. Okay, that's interesting. That card comes out, but and the reason why it's so interesting is because before I turned on the camera, I pulled as well to see what you guys got, just to kind of get a quick preview before I jump into it, and the same card came out. So be careful with debating with people or fighting with folks this month. I feel like there may be some things that will be taken out of context. A lot of petty fights, a lot of things that divert from the focus of the whole conversation or objective in whatever comes up. Just be aware that there may be some tension, there may be some things that you're just better off focusing on your own stuff versus getting involved with anyone else's business. That said, be careful about selfishness and the tendency to do things because you want to do them and trumping everybody else. Be careful of that, because the Five of Swords could talk about making sure your needs are met, regardless of how anyone else feels about it. It can also indicate that, your truth reigns supreme, so you'll fight, tooth and nail to prove that your truth is right. Even if that means that you end up, losing friends or cutting people out of your life and regarding that, or people cut you out. So just make sure that whatever truth you're fighting for is really worth fighting for. And that's something that can, that doesn't necessarily need to make or break a friendship, but will if pushed too hard, okay? So why do we have the Five of Swords coming up, though? The Five of Swords could be a warning. We could also lose something in the month of May, but we could also gain some sort of understanding of what was lost by, from the month of May. So everything has its purposes and its benefits, but let's see why. Why does the Five of Swords come up for Pisces for the month of May? Okay. Oh, the Six of Pentacles. Oh, geez. Okay. What else can you tell us about that Six of Pentacles there? This balance. The Queen of Swords. Alright, so you may be dealing with a Libra, Gemini, Aquarius. But this person is like... it's weird. It's like this person kind of gives this vibe that they're always right, and probably when they're not. And I feel like it's to do with some sort of give and take scenario. I think somebody either been taking a lot in the relationship or hasn't been giving enough, and the dynamic is that somebody now has to look out for themselves because the dynamic is off. Somebody is not, putting in enough effort into the relationship or putting enough effort into work. Somebody's slacking in some area, and you have to just kind of focus on your own work. You don't focus on nobody else, because this situation looks like somebody's trying, not necessarily intentionally sabotaging you. With the Queen of Swords could be very ruthless and very brutal, and with the Five of Swords being a ruthless, brutal energy anyway, that combination kind of does worry me. So be very careful. Now, this could also indicate this is you, Pisces. This can indicate that you may be being really aggressive, or you're just kind of, you're cutting out the middleman. You're just going to make sure that you get what you need and just screw everybody else because no one else is considering you. No one's looking out for you. Be careful of that kind of tendency. Just focus on what your needs are without having to, be so aggressive in regards to cutting someone else out or making such a huge scene. But I kind of have a feeling that you already had an argument or some sort of fight with somebody with the Queen of Swords, someone that was, very sharp with their tongue, not very tactful. But the Queen of Swords is usually a Libra, so in regards to that, there could have been some small tact, but how this situation it looks like it's going, it was pretty brutal. So it kind of looks like what you may need to know is that there is some sort of argument or some sort of fight that you guys are going to be encountering with somebody, and it's a verbal fight. I don't think it's a physical. And it could be with you, your partner, your friend, your coworkers. It could even be someone close to you. But this person is being super defensive here. The Queen of Swords is usually someone that has a hard time trusting people. And when the Five of Swords comes up, someone that has Five of Swords coming up with the Queen of Swords, they look out for their own interests, and they don't really trust people. So they do things on their own. So you may end up having to try to build trust with somebody that has seriously bad trust issues. Okay, so it may be that too. It doesn't mean that you necessarily have to have a fight. Don't let them string you into a a debate or a fight that is completely outside of what the main objective is, though. Like I said before, to be careful of that kind of argument. So be careful of that sort of combativeness, because that is not going to help you get anywhere. It's just going to cause more problems, and the situation will ripple into some sort of to a beautiful chaos. So be careful of that. But I do feel like with the Queen of Swords coming up here, this person that you may be dealing with, you may have to try, you may want to try to balance things out, try to make things work, and you probably want to show them that they don't have to kind of undermine you or do something, or make sure that they are considered, they don't have to do ruthless stuff to get what they want. They can work together and achieve that same goal. There may be compromises that may need to come into place, because the Five of Swords can also indicate compromise and cooperation and working together, as well as the opposite of being ruthless, selfish, and looking out for your own best interest. But I feel like with the Queen of Swords, she's looking for her own best interest because she's been hurt before, and she's not necessarily open to getting hurt again. She's making sure that she gets what she needs, and that's it. Now, this doesn't have to be a female. This could be a male that you're dealing with as well. But the situation is that you may have to try to build trust with someone, and that may mean that you have to compromise something of your own to show this person that they can trust you. Okay. And it could be the other way around. Maybe this person has to compromise something of themselves so that you could trust them. Okay. So, where did all this start, though? Let's see. Where did all this start? Where is this coming from? Why is this coming up? Where is this coming from? Oh, the Emperor. This coming from the Emperor. Somebody is super stubborn or super controlling in the relationship. That's where it's coming from. Somebody was being super controlling, and they weren't compromising or working with anybody in the relationship. They were just their way of the highway, and that's it. So now it's kind of caused a ripple effect where somebody is not interested in hearing what anyone else has to say. They're getting what they want, and they're not having it. Now, it could have been that someone else was extremely controlling, and now this person is retaliating, or or it could be that the same person that's being stubborn can't get their way anymore. So now they're doing anything everything that they can to make something happen. Okay. Why is the Emperor coming up to explain why all this is coming up? Because of the Six of Cups. Now, something tells me that they lost something that made them happy, because the Six of Cups is usually the past, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you lose something, but the Six of Cups is something that reflects on a time of innocence. So someone became harder because of some sort of instance in the past, or because of something that from a situation that was once nice. I think they've hardened up from a situation that made them happy at one point. Okay. And I feel like this past energy is what's made them so, hard to negotiate, hard to work with, hard to deal with. But I think they don't mean to be overbearing. I think they want to make sure that they don't get hurt like that again, which is why this dynamic is so off, and why there may need to be compromises on your part or on their part, depending on who's the one that made this person. Either it could be no one in the relationship to blame at all, but it's just about extending an olive branch sometimes too. How is this impacting the relationship specifically? Okay, and it's affecting the relationship by the Two of Pentacles and the Hermit. It's a lot of trying to keep the balance, trying to keep things from collapsing, and that does end up making things feel extremely lonely. I think the situation is that the problems are being not necessarily ignored, but overlooked at the moment, because they're just there's a decision on how there needs to be Jesus, if I could get the words out. There is a need for a decision to be made in regards to how it needs to be worked on, how this trust issue or how this situation needs to be rebalanced, if that makes sense, or fixed. But I think this is also a personal thing too. I think this is also really requiring you to look within in your heart to figure out if there is any place in your life where there could be forgiveness, or if there's any places in your heart where you can compromise something to show that you are willing to either commit to moving forward or so forth. I kind of get the feeling that with the Hermit coming up, it just feels like there's a lot of isolation. There's a lot of being by yourself. But that by yourself isn't necessarily a stressful thing. It's more of like a way to kind of reflect. It's a way to kind of get a little bit of peace because the situation is so chaotic outside of you, right? So I kind of feel like there is a decision that has to be made in regards to what path you're going to be committing to, but I think you're looking within yourself to figure out which option is the most valuable, either going by yourself, being by yourself, or really kind of doing what needs to be done to not sedate the situation, but to solve its problems, okay? Because this is a really big situation. Somebody is very aggressive in this reading. Like, it's so aggressive. And it's almost like this person kind of waits for shit to happen. They don't initiate it right away. They kind of just stand there and wait for the shit to stir, and then they'll be like the first one to say something or something like that. They will respond to what's going on around them, but they're on guard. When I see the King of Swords, I'm like, okay, this person is after people. But the Queen of Swords, she doesn't go after folks. She's ready for a clapback, though. She's ready to clap back, but she'll wait for that clap back. She'll wait for that opportunity to clap back, rather. The Emperor, somebody was going for it. Everything was, in a very direct fashion. Now it's more of a passive, but I'm ready to fight you kind of sort of situation here. That's a lot of aggro. But there's also this, not really aggro, it's really like detached, defensiveness. It's very detached and it's very defensive. And I feel like it has to do with whatever the past was that made them happy. This loss of innocence has caused them to be so stiff, so detached, so cold, and not necessarily calculated in the sense of trying to be manipulative and hurtful. But they are looking out for their hearts right now, because look what's underneath here, the Three of Swords. That is huge, guys. Somebody's really hurt. And it's showing through their actions, guys. So let's take a look at the overall outcome and see what that has to tell us. The Page of Cups. Communicating from the heart and being gentle and compassionate. Like, that's a very important thing, especially when somebody is really having a hard time trusting people, is incapable at the moment for, they're not able to kind of let their guard down a little bit and to see that the situation is, inflamed and going out of control. I kind of get this feeling that this person just need to have a talking to, not in the sense of like, hey, you need to calm the hell down, nor like, hey, I understand that this is what's going on, I understand this is why you feel this way, but here's what my needs are, and here's what I can do to help you with, whatever you feel like you need. I'm willing to make the sacrifices that I need to make. Because the Five of Swords is coming up, you may have to make sacrifices this month. If this is someone that's worth your time, and something that you believe is worth worth taking the step to actually plan things out and really work on making a solution, you could do it. And it seems like this person means something to you, because I think you have history with this individual. I think this person at one point was proud, and now that their ego has been sliced, they're cold, they're detached, they're defensive. They don't want to, be humiliated or hurt again. And I feel like, I feel like that what once was love and thriving is now a battlefield and walking on eggshells. And I think somebody just going to have to just be open about what's going on, especially communicating from I statements and how you feel about it is better than start throwing accusations, because you have to be coming from a place of compassion when the Page of Cups comes up. Compassion, love, and you have to communicate your emotions and seek understanding of that person's emotions as well, okay? This is a really scary reading, guys. Be safe this month, okay? Be careful. So let's see what the Messenger Oracle cards have to tell you to kind of get some more advice for the reading for this month. Nourish the soul, and the Hermit did come up. Nourish the soul is such a good card to get with this because with Hermit energy, that's talking about giving time and space for yourself to kind of understand and digest the circumstances around you, and as well as prepare yourself for the challenges that come up. The Hermit is only looking at what he's been through and healing the past, so he can take on the Wheel of Fortune that comes in later on. He is the 9th card in the Major Arcana, after all. And I feel like right now there is you have to see this from within yourself. I feel like some of you guys might be really triggered and maybe even really hurt by this person. But remember, this person is trying to protect themselves. And if this is you being very aggressive, understand that the other person is experiencing your aggression or experiencing your defensiveness. And perhaps it's easier to be more, to consider your emotions and consider why you're in pain and really communicate what's been going on with you and talk about what boundaries need to be put in place so that way you can bring your sword down, versus continuously trying to, wait for something bad to happen. Because it doesn't have to happen. Nothing bad has to happen. Nothing, terrible has to happen. There is a compromise that needs to, come about, but it'll bring better cooperation and it'll balance the relationship out a lot better. But it takes time. And with nourishing the soul, you have to honor what you're feeling. You have to honor and accept and acknowledge what you're feeling and understand where it's coming from. And not that, remember that everyone that's around you is not out to get you, okay? Because I think that's another big thing I'm seeing. It's not you against the world. It doesn't have to be you against the world. I know it can feel that way, especially when people have backstabbed you, when they've hurt you, and they betrayed your trust. But that was that person. Not everyone is that person. It's going to take some time to heal from that and to understand that that's not how the world is. That's not everyone, right? That's not how everyone is. And I feel like it's going to take time, but you have to be willing to work on it. And it starts by giving yourself compassion and looking at your situation and giving yourself the understanding and nourishment that your soul needs.